What's up, Bama Insider Nation? Trey Kennedy back for another post-spring practice player update. Today we're talking about another second-year player, another defender, Brian Branch. Before we start this video, hit that like button for me, guys. Subscribe to our channel. Check out BamaInsider.com for everything Alabama athletics. Brian Branch is originally from Tyrone, Georgia. He played at Sandy Creek High School, and in his time there, like Christian Story, a player we talked about earlier this week, he played on both sides of the football. He was the number 79 player on the Rivals 250. He ranked 18th in his home state and was the number 21 safety prospect in the country as well. Now, of course, Brian Branch was part of the All-American team, played in that game in San Antonio, finished his career at Sandy Creek High School as the program's career interceptions leader. He was selected as the Georgia 5A Ironman of the Year, an award presented to the top two-way player in the state. An outstanding high school career. Brian had decisions to make. It came down to Alabama, Ohio State, Oklahoma, and Tennessee. Ultimately, of course, Brian decided to join this Alabama roster. Now, as you guys know, Brian Branch and Malachi Moore play a very similar role on this team, and coming into the program, a lot of people thought Brian Branch was going to kind of have the role that Malachi Moore had this past season. Branch really stood out in fall camp because of his versatility. He saw playing time in 12 games, started 3 of those, had 27 tackles on the year, had a half stop for loss, he had 7 pass breakups, 2 interceptions, and he tied for 3rd in the SEC in passes defended among all freshman defenders. Really a good season for Brian Branch, considering he didn't get the playing time that it really requires to add up these stats. I mean, you think about it, he didn't play in his first game until Texas A&M. Didn't really get the chance to make an impact until Georgia, where he got his first tackle, and that was on special teams. He continued his work, continued to grind it out, and serve as a really nice backup to Malachi Moore. And then, as you all remember, right as the postseason is beginning, Malachi Moore goes down with an injury, and now Brian Branch is asked to step up. Against Notre Dame, he made his second start of the season. He had 3 tackles in that game, broke up a pass, and was really just a presence in the Crimson Tide semifinal win on New Year's Day. In the national championship game against the Buckeyes, he also got the start there for the second time in a row, and the third time all year. He recorded 4 tackles in that game, broke up a season-high 3 passes, and of course, Alabama run victoriously in Miami. That was 2021, but that was the 2020-2021 season. Now, as we've gotten through the spring of 2021, Branch is listed at 190, 6 foot straight up. The defensive back certainly working himself into an elevated role with a monster spring. Now, we knew Malachi Moore wasn't going to be a part of this roster during spring practice, still battling that injury. Brian Branch really stepped up and turned some heads. People knew about Brian Branch coming into this spring. People knew what he was capable of and had seen it on the field in big-time games. But after the spring, people realized Brian Branch could start every single week for this team and make a huge impact. Talk about a scouting report for Brian Branch. The first point I want to highlight, his speed in catching up to the play. Brian Branch has ran a 4.40 before. We've seen that. Brian Branch is maybe a bit more liable to be out of position than a guy like Malachi Moore, but Branch's speed allows him to always return to the play. You saw it really this spring in practice. So many deflections, and we saw it last year as well. You don't get that many pass breakups without being able to catch up to a pass that the quarterback thought he would be able to make with ease. The second point I want to highlight, his football IQ, and really kind of a sub point on this one. Not only his football smarts, but his mental strength as well. At the beginning of last season, Branch was listed as a co-starter with Malachi Moore. We saw how that went. Malachi Moore started most of those games. You never saw Brian Branch complain or, make a big scene about it or even talk about transferring or anything else like that. Played his role, stepped up, and got to play and start in the college football playoff and the national championship game. Also, when you talk about his mind, you got to refer to his high school coach, Brett Garvin. He was quoted as saying, apart from his physical talent, which is pretty much off the chain, his best trait as a football player is his IQ. Some kids just understand it the way coaches understand it. He sees it on the board, and he can translate that board to the field very easily. Really just a brilliant football player with excellent hands. My third point, the deflections is really the one stat that you look at with Brian Branch that gets you the most excited. I mean, the dude knocks down so many passes, and that comes with quick hands and knowing where to put them. The fourth point, his ability to create offense on defense. Now, like I said, in high school, Brian Branch was a two-way player. We saw him with interceptions this past season. He is a threat with the football in his hands. And a guy that already has such quick hands, who continues to learn this scheme and put himself in better positions. A few more interceptions, those could be house calls. He returned one for 95 yards. In his high school career, it was a game winner that time. Don't be surprised if you see long interception returns, crazy athletic plays happen when Brian Branch has the football in his hands after an interception this season. Brian Branch's smarts on the football field, his patience, and the ability to be a leader is why he will get a lot of playing time yet again at Alabama this season. We talked about Malachi Moore earlier. He is a very exciting player. Brian Branch right there behind him. You could even argue right there next to him at this point, as we see Moore continue to work back from this injury. A lot of storylines still to come as we get into this summer. We appreciate your support for BamaInsider.com. And as always, guys, you can subscribe to our channel to check out the rest of the content surrounding Alabama athletics. Don't forget to head to BamaInsider.com as well to check out writings from authors like Tony Tsoukalis and recruiting expert Andrew Bone. Brian Branch will have an elevated role this coming season, and that's in part to a big spring and a whole lot of talent. For BamaInsider.com, my name is Trey Yanity. This has been a post-spring practice player update on defensive back Brian Branch.